The Flash Season 9 is finally here with Episode 1, and honestly, I think this was a step up from the last season and the previous ones in certain aspects. Definitely CGI, it's gotten a lot better this year, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this all unfolds this season. So this will be my review, my breakdown, things you might have missed, and also talking about some comic origins of some of the characters. So let's jump into The Flash Season 9, Episode 1. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. Let's start with the review, because this episode, I have mixed opinions on. I still enjoyed it. It was a little campy, it was a little fun. One of the things that probably bothered me the most was the fact that at the end, when they saved the day, Iris was there. We gotta stop walking around with Iris in full civilian clothes with Barry, and then them hugging out and being all lovey-dovey. It's like, guys. Secret identity. Why does Iris act like a hero? I never understood this for the last few seasons. Yes, we are the Flash, but why is Iris working with Flash and taking down bad guys with him and then acting all lovey-dovey? Like, is no one gonna question that the two married people who are madly in love, we never see Barry with the Flash, but we always see Iris with the Flash? I mean, I think anyone with two brain cells can put two and two together. But to be fair, this is comic book talk we're talking about, and sometimes some people's disguises aren't very good, yet no one really knows what's going on. But overall, the episode was a lot of fun. I think the time loop aspect was really interesting, and I do like where they're going with this, because the whole overarching plot of this was setting up Red Death and what's going on with the future, and possibly a new Rogues team, which I'll get more into it later in the breakdown. But I thought it was really fun. Barry's all positive. I really like seeing that positive, fun-loving Barry, even though it's kind of him masking his fear of losing Iris. I like where it's going, and I think this is going to be a really good season. I think the fact that there's only 13 episodes, even though we did miss out on a bunch of stuff that I talked about in another video, like Legends of Tomorrow being a plot in this from Barry saving them, but I think because it's only 13 episodes, they were able to put money into things that mattered, like the CGI. Barry shooting his lightning, the explosion, Captain Boomerang, it all looked good. Even Tar Pit in the beginning looked good. And I'm so happy that the CGI does not look like garbage like a few seasons ago when we had the Forces. Because that was some of the worst CGI I've seen for the show. And I'm so happy that it's getting better and that they put more money into it this season. At least it looks like they did. They probably took a lot of the criticisms over the last few years and were like, okay, we're going to fix this. We're going to put a little bit more into it so it doesn't look as bad. And we're going to end off with a bang. Which I'm looking forward to seeing how it does end. And I keep hearing that's going to end on a positive note. So my theory about the Flash ending with him becoming the Lightning, it might not happen. I thought it was a really cool theory. But if it's ending on a happy note, that means at least Barry will probably get to be a father. And I'm looking forward to that. But I think it's going to be fun, and I really hope we focus on the Flash working with other heroes going forward, because it does seem like that's going to happen with the amount of people that are supposed to be returning. So let's jump into the breakdown. We'll start from the beginning and go to the end. So first of all, what caught me off completely guard is we had everyone acting like a hero, Cecile using her new powers, Allegra using her powers, and Barry teaming up with the whole team to take down Tar Pit, who, fun fact, we haven't seen since Season 2. That's right. He got introduced in Season 2, and we haven't seen him since. So that looked really cool, and at first I was like, why do I know him? Have we seen him before? And Barry's like, well, welcome back. And I'm like, wait a second. It feels like he's talking to us, the audience, like, welcome back, but also the villain, because we haven't seen him in a while. I really liked that first fight, and then he woke up, and I was like, wait a second. It was all a dream? Because they all died, and I was very confused, but okay, cool. Tar Pit is technically back, because, we saw him, but in the reality of the Flash world, he's technically not back. Still cool, though, to see Tar Pit. One big, giant CGI villain. Again, hoping we see more, like Gorilla Grodd and King Shark before the season ends. I think we're more likely to see Gorilla Grodd, though, before anything else. So, very, very interested in seeing what CGI creatures we see this season, because now we've seen Tar Pit right off the bat. And the one thing I was very confused about first, right off the bat, I was like, why is Frost here? And then it all started to make sense when we realized it's a dream. But it was still a cool part of it, and I like seeing what they did, because we had Daniel Pennebaker back as Frost character with her suit on. So at least we got to see it one more time before the big change up by the end of the episode. The one thing too about that scene, it was very, very cheesy, with very cheesy one-liners. However, I still had a lot of fun watching it, and because it was like a dream sequence, it's not that big of a deal for me. And I do like, the Flash being more upbeat, more happy, because Barry is a positive person, and I am looking forward to seeing that more charismatic Barry this season, if that's the direction they're going in, because I'm happy for it. I like how with this time loop episode, we got a name drop of Cat Grant and Kara, because Cat Grant wants to buy the Central City Citizen, which I think is really cool that we are getting other references to stuff in the Arrowverse, because I hate it when they act like a lot of this stuff doesn't happen in this big world. So I'm glad to see Cat Grant and Kara being referenced, because it's always good to hear Supergirl being referenced. It's just, I like it when they reference their friends. It's cool, because we know they're there. It's nice to acknowledge the other heroes in the universe. And the one thing this episode did really good was portraying both Barry and Iris, where they want to go with their future and how they want to deal with it. Because Barry has the roadmap, that book we saw in the trailer of everything that's going to happen. Sue becomes the richest person in the world. There's Red Skies, which I'm pretty sure is Red Death, and that was a reference to that. The Red Skies is also a reference back to season 1, where we saw the newspaper of the Flash missing, vanishes in crisis. Red Skies vanish once he saves the day, but this could be because of the new timeline change, and the new Red Skies could be a Red Death. And the thing is, I like how they portrayed Iris not wanting any of that. She doesn't want to follow it, she wants to live life. But Barry's like, I don't want to lose you. And it's not just because Barry knows what's going to happen that he's so obsessed with it, it's because over the last few seasons, Iris has been in danger every single season. We had all the Mirrorverse stuff that happened, then we had the time sickness. So Iris has been in a lot of danger, and Barry is very worried about her future. And I like how they're really focusing on that this season, where Barry just wants his life. He just wants to have his kids. He wants to be with his wife. Because going through the seasons, we all assumed he was going to disappear. That changed because of the crisis on Infinite Earths. Now Barry just is so determined to have the life he wants to have, because he's also seen his friends die. Oliver never got to have his life with his kids, and he wants that for himself. And I can't wait to see what he's going to have to do to get that life, because I'm sure he's going to have to sacrifice something at some point, risk his own life, where he might not even possibly get the life he wants. Of course, if the show is ending on a happy note, that won't happen, but he needs to be put in that position for him as a character to figure out what he's willing to give up to save the people around him and the people he loves. Plus, if we are seeing Nora again this season, it'll be his sign to be like, oh, at least I'm going to have my kids, and then he'll be happy with whatever risks he takes. The way the time loop sets up, though, is really interesting, because it ties into that overarch plot, what's going to happen with Red Death, who wants to build a time machine. Because the piece Captain Boomerang was stealing was for that time machine, and for all the time travel stuff that's supposed to be happening. And I think as an audience, we didn't realize this until the end of the episode, where we see Red Death, but not the suit, just kind of the buzzing figure like we've seen the Reverse Flash be. And it made me wonder why they just didn't show the suit, because they clearly showed it in the trailer. However, it looks so much better like that than what the actual suit's gonna look like. And I'm hoping that CG makes it look better, but it looks so clunky. And I like the way it looked at the end there, and I like how they put the bat symbol on there, really showing that Red Death is here right off the bat. We don't even need to wait a couple episodes, just boom, Red Death is here, which I think is going to be really cool going forward, and seeing where that goes. And I have my mixed opinions about this Red Death and what's going to be happening with the character, but I am looking forward to seeing how they deal with it, because in this as well, and as well as the trailer for next episode, it looks like they're also setting up a new Rogues Gallery, which is exactly what one of my theories was. Because in this, we got introduced to a new Captain Boomerang, Owen Mercer. And in the comics, Owen Mercer is the son of Digger Harkness, who is the first Captain Boomerang. We haven't seen him since season 5 of Arrow in the show, because in the show he died. And there's a big difference between the show and the comics, because even though he's the father in the comics, I don't think he's going to be the father in the show. And then now we have Owen, who's dressed in more of a comic book accurate look, but that's Digger's look from the comic and not Owen. So they're kind of switching things up, which is also cool, because, at least we got a classic comic book look in the show. I like seeing that comic book accuracy. Sometimes suits don't transition as well into live action, but I still like how they put it in. And fun fact, Owen Mercer's mother in the comics is a Thawne Allen. That's right. In the comics, with weird time travel stuff, Diggle Harkness gets trapped in the 30th century, has a kid, and then that kid somehow ends up back in present day by unknown reason. So a lot of timey-wimey random crap, but technically in the comics, his half-brother is Bart Allen. And he also has ties to Cobalt Blue, which will be interesting. And with those ties to Cobalt Blue in the comics, there's also a good chance that the show might be also adapting that somehow, where he has ties to the Cobalt Blues in the Arrowverse, which will be interesting to see if that ends up happening. Especially because it has been rumored that Cobalt Blue will be appearing, especially after last season when we saw that blue crystal, and I think we all assume that he's showing up. And that's probably my most anticipated part, is seeing Cobalt Blue show up, and it possibly being Eddie Thawne or a distant relative that looks like Eddie Thawne. Because who knows? So many things with time travel happen that we might be, something cool might be happening. I'm looking forward to it. And like I said earlier, The CG looks so freaking good. When Barry was going after Captain Boomerang, the lightning just looked really clean, and I really enjoyed the look of the explosion. Like, it doesn't look that bad compared to what we've seen. Barry running looked really good, and I think they put a lot more into CGI this season. I'm looking forward to seeing what else we get. Now, back to the time loop stuff. I really like how in the time loop stuff, Barry just kept dying over and over and over and over again because he kept trying to break it, which, you know, at a certain point when you're stuck in a time loop, you just kind of say, screw it, let's just do whatever. And I thought that was really fun. Just the constant explosion of him dying and him and Chester just having fun with it. I love how Barry and Iris finally realize that they have to break the time loop and just start enjoying life. Barry needs to forget about his book and they just need to learn to live life, experience it. And I like how Joe and Cecile were the one to punch that into Barry's head. I know Barry's worried. He's scared for Iris and his future, but he needs to start living in the moment because he might see those memories on paper, like, oh, this is how Nora and Bart do this. This is, you know, their experience. This is what's going to happen in the future. But by knowing that emotion, that feeling you get by seeing your kids' first steps or by seeing them lose their tooth for the first time, like, you want to live that moment. You don't want to know it's coming. You want to live it and experience it with your loved ones. And I love how Barry finally realizes that by the end of the episode and gets rid of the book, because that also means that the future will still slightly change because they won't be following this grand plan. Also, Barry phasing the explosion, I don't think that's possible. It was cool, but I don't think that's actually possible. I guess Barry learned yet another way to use his powers. But now let's talk about that ending to the episode, because Joe wants to leave Central City, which also ties back to earlier in the episode where Barry's like, yeah, you're going to leave here in a few years and we're going to take over the house. And I think Joe's just, in general, tired of the superhero life. He's always stressed, he's always worried, and he's okay with leaving Iris and Barry because he knows Barry will protect them and that they'll always come out on top, and that he knows because of all the future stuff that's happened in the future, Iris will live until the future. How many times are we going to say future in a row? Anyways, I think that's where Joe wants to move on with his life, bring his kid, who they tend to forget they have a kid in this show. Like, The Flash, ever since Cecile and Joe had their kid, they just have never showed that child again. After the first little bit, I don't remember seeing it all last season, and then this season, of course, we saw a little picture in the corner, but we haven't seen anything else, and I probably won't. But it's going to be an interesting plot for Joe and Cecile this season, because Cecile's going to have, she's getting stronger, she's had telekinesis now, she's becoming this hero, but I think Joe just wants to move away from that. He doesn't want her to be a hero, he wants to have his wife and his kid and live a happy life, a happy, stress-free life. So I'm interested to seeing what happens there, and how long, you know, during the season he'll actually be in it. I'm sure they'll save him leaving till the end. Like, they move on and Barry and Iris get the house. Like, at the end of the season. I feel like that's how they're going to wrap things up. Then we jump to Caitlin. But it's not Caitlin. And it's not Killer Frost. It's not Frost. It's something else. I was seeing that some people were saying that it might be a mix between the Frost and the Caitlin identities kind of merging together because she had the blue streaks in her hair and she had her brown hair. I'm interested in seeing what's going on. They're going to explore this next episode, it looks like. And I wonder, who is this supposed to be? Is Caitlin gone for good? Is Frost gone for good? Or is this just a mix of the two identities where now they're one being? I'm very interested to finding out next episode. And on top of it, we had, like I said earlier, we had Captain Boomerang working with Red Death. Red Death is trying to make a time machine for whatever reason, even though I still don't understand why Speedster would need a time machine. I am interested to find out why, though. And I guess each episode is just going to start leading more and more of that confrontation with Red Death, even though it's not your typical Red Death, and I'm still wondering how the hell they're going to explain it. But let's talk about the trailer, because the trailer actually reveals a good amount of what's going to happen next. Because, like I said, we're going to find out what happened to Caitlin and who this new identity is. But on top of it, the Pied Piper is coming back. Hartley Hathaway is coming back next episode. And it looks like someone's after him, which could be a new version of the Fiddler. Maybe because Pied Piper doesn't want to join the new Rogues team, so they're trying to take him out. Maybe they'll be setting up each episode until we get to the final one with Red Death. A new Rogues lineup coming up, and Barry will have to fight him before the big climactic battle with Red Death. So now that we have the first episode of The Flash out of the way, what did you think of it? Let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know what you thought of what they did this episode with the time loop, because I'm very interested. And did you see anything that I might have missed? Because I feel like I might have missed one or two things here and there, because I was so focused on Barry. But hey, I'm always interested in finding out stuff I missed, because it's always fun to see, you know, what's going on and what other people pick up that I don't pick up. Plus, on top of it, let me know what you think about what's going to happen with Caitlin. And if, like, the two identities merge, like I think, or something completely different. Also, do you think the new Pied Piper that seems to be setting up is going to be setting up a new Rogues with Captain Boomerang and other characters? Or do you think these are just showing Flash having new Rogues and they won't actually team up to be a Rogues team? I can't wait for next week to see what happens next. It's kind of a bittersweet ending that The Flash is coming to an end this year. It's been a long time. Rip the Arrowverse, but hey, hopefully in the new DCU we'll get these characters showing up again in a new and a different way. Possibly with new actors, possibly with the same ones, but who knows? So if you like this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more of my Flash breakdowns, hit the subscribe button because I will be doing them weekly. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.